and we have a little, it's about learning, it's about growing, and it's about heritage, like the Hebrew heritage. And having a conversation with the elder sister too, she shares something very important with me. Let me see who know Master Driller. You buy stuff from him, Barack?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And so we know Master Driller mother too, right? Elder lady, just as beautiful as she is. So somebody come on and want some.
Conversation for a second. They're doing a recording, and we're coming.
And somebody came around and said they want some of the stuff that Master Driller made. And she said she going to call Master Driller. So I said, okay. So she said, yeah, that's her son. So I said, oh, that be your son. I know his mother. You understand? And then she said, no, I'm my sister's wife. So for us and for MATHATHAWA ego, let me put it there, and for MATHATHAWA want to know more, I asked her to explain the sister-wife situation to me. So
okay, see, we never even knew that all the time we've been here. No, we never knew that. Yeah. So
explain the sister-wife situation. We want to grow.
Relative to the understanding.
Yes.
Well, naturally we understand that according to Yah instructions. So that's the way of life. You know. So for us, it's Yah first in all things.
Correct.
And that's in relationships. So if you keep Yah first in all things and in relationships, why should it be a problem? So for us, it's not a problem. You know, not to say that Sari Yeshuv was initially married to Kotzavina in 1981, me in 1983, and Skanik to Armenia in 2010.
So it's 3 of you?
Yes.
Okay, so 181, 183, 2010.
So we're saying this is a brother who has 3 wives.
Right.
Okay.
Make sure you're going to take that. So this is what we said. And for we struggle with this in the West. And to come to Zion,
5 minutes.
all right, let me back up. Some of us struggle with it in the West, and just to come here and see a sister go and tell us the way of our heritage, the way of our history, and so I just want to ask now. So jealousy.
Okay. Now, one thing again, Yah first in all things. So the monogamy, does it work? You know, we have a major problem with monogamy these days. You know, I mean, actually, the practice of more than one wife happens all the time, but it's off the record. It's hidden.
Side chick.
But when truth is Yah, if you can face the truth, then what's the problem? Okay, the problem becomes this carnal brain, this carnal mind. That's where the fight gets started. But as you know, in relationships, there's many textures, forms, colors, hues, dynamics, ups, downs, arounds. That's real. So why can't you embrace it with... The problem is not more than one wife. The problem is your relationship with God.
Correct.
You know, the stick-to-itness, it doesn't exist anymore. Right. You know, I mean, we're in this in and out teeth, on and off glasses, fast food.
Right, exactly.
You know, the whole thing, you have to look at that whole lifestyle that I didn't like your attitude today. Bye. See ya. That's the end of it. You know, she's as bold as him. I'm dump you. I got me somebody else. It's on both men and women. So that's not how you build Yah's kingdom. That's not how you build a family. That's not how you build a nation.
I want to ask a question.
But you have to know that that was very important in terms of, okay, we're coming. Population.
Right. Exactly.
Population, with the measurements of male and female.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the disparity? With the
female.
brothers in, too many of our brothers are in jail. They're murdered. The women are widows, abandoned, whatever the case is. All of that. So, but in Yah's way, there's provisions for all of it.
Exactly.
But the problem is you don't know Yah's way.
Yeah.
That's where the
They don't know
problem
where the
lies.
Heavenly Father is.
But you get everything is Yah first. So in truth and honesty, then that's how you deal with your relationships with your sister wife, with your husband, your ish, and that's the simple aspect. But people don't want to wrap their minds around the simplicity of it. So, it's all right. Just I don't want to see it in my face.
Right. How about that?
But in the meantime, over here,
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
so that's planting these seeds of negativity constantly.
Can I ask you one question? Just for the audience, and for the other sisters who can't wrap their minds around this idea about a man having more than one wife. The relationship that, because you said you married one in the 80s, one
Another in the 80s and another in 2010.
another in 2010. So how does a sister deal with the fact that a man wants another wife 3 or 4 or 5 years later on? How does the other wife deal with that? Give them some idea how spiritually they can deal with that.
Well, what you spiritually do is you get right with Yah.
Okay.
And everything that comes in your direction is in perspective. Mila Sila. It's not a lot, But the main issue is the controversy with Yah.
Right.
And you have to know this. And we don't want to face our own controversy.
We have to cut this a little short.
We have to cut it short.
So we'll finish it. So that's part 1 of this video. And we're going to go deeper in depth because MATHATHAWA want to know.
Yeah.
Shalom.
When I was talking to my Yeshu then, we weren't married, and my biggest question mark was the whole thing about apartheid, Zionism, racism, Israel. Because as a person, I never saw myself in Israel. I didn't have the fortune of the oral history coming down through my family and all of that, even though it was right under my nose, because I was born in Chicago. And 47th Cottage Grove, where a beta was, we had a cleaners. My cousin had a cleaners right around there. But never, ever, totally oblivious, right? So, Yeshu, he said, well, it's as simple as what's good and right or bad and wrong. Life, so you can determine, is it good or evil? Once you can determine which, then you're clear how to navigate. So it made things a lot simpler because, racism, sexism, all the isms, those were man-made, and divisionism. The sense of dividing the people and divide and conquer has been in existence ever since. So when I started to look at life like that, it just made sense. It just made things become easier for me to grasp, wrap my mind around. Because you go to college and you're in lecture halls and seminars with a bunch of people and they're talking all heady and stuff. And you be like, I don't understand. I can't see it. Or you understand? It's that there's so many different levels, because a lot of it is because they're extricated from the application. You have to apply knowledge. Otherwise, what's the value of it? You understand? So, So, and then two, we also said push the positive. That was like, you know, that went with this fist, but it was like push the positive. So when you look at life as half full as opposed to half empty, then you're welcoming to things that might be a foreign interest, you know, something that you, instead of being all paranoid about, you're like, okay, it's a possibility. And when you tread through life with that in mind, so many things come to your behest. There's a right there. Yes. Yeah. It's high here.
So let me ask this question. How long are you married now?
35 years.
That's in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Because what face our people know, like you have sisters in the truth, have 4, 5, 6 husbands in the truth now, right? So that's why it's good we have this debate, this interview with a sister who know it, who been there, elder, you're married from in the 80s. That we don't have much of that now, because I said the custom in America, a family thing as first thing as a disagreement comes, it's time to hit the road on both sides.
Right.
Right. So and the mere fact we don't have much senior sisters with experience, and I'll use the word stable.
That stay the course.
That stay the course. So that's why it's very important for you to tell the West world, tell some of us here how it work, how it can work. And you use the word positive, so we want to emphasize on the positive side of
Absolutely.
it. And they help, because when I asked you for the brother and you say I'm his mom, that's when I go deep, because I was like, I know I met his mom. You understand me? So explain that situation too, and just feel free to just let the world understand, because it's something in the West they don't understand.
Again, you know, operating from the instructions from the Holy Creator, and understanding that the history of Israelites, how many wives did Moshe have?
3.
How many wives did Abraham have? How many wives we go through the history? Okay, so therefore, and I understand it. I don't have a, you know, I'm not a biblical scholar, but I do know that there's a lot more instructions in there that would behoove us to follow, because it's a prescription for life. Take, for instance, the fact that a woman is in her father's house or her husband's house. That's the order of Yah. I knew nothing of that. Nothing whatsoever. Okay, so, because why? You're there to protect me.
That's true.
That's number one. That's at the top of the list. You know? Because of the vulnerability of, for whatever reason, or the naivety, the mother, you know, the heartstring, the emotion thing that we can do, you know. But then when you have balance, because your father is there to say, hey, look at this situation. Let me show you how to look at the situation. You decide for yourself, but let me show you how to look at the situation. But if you don't have that balance, then how you govern in your life can be really a quandary. I have a friend, when I knew her in LA, she has 4 sons by 4 different brothers. As a matter of fact, she knew somebody in the Hebrew Israelites in Liberia when I didn't. That was just really new news to me. But part of her reality you know, at this day and age with child welfare and the whole system and everything. But so this man, this father, you four are the fathers. Y'all don't have nothing to do with each other. But you not interested in his son getting none of what you're providing. It's a crazy mess because it's not being directed properly. Right? Okay, so it's got manifestations all over the place. So then we say we want for our sisters what we want for ourselves. You know, and the fact that understanding that, like in our lifestyle, it's a benefit, and most of the times it's not discussed by the sisters, it's discussed by the brothers. When you're in speaking forums and whatnot, and they're often talking, so everybody says, yeah, the man, he benefits from it, so he's gonna be for it, right? But as sisters, we share, like for instance with our birthing system. We have the babies that 40 days for a male child and 80 days for a female child once the child is born. Mm-hmm. And even before, like once the mother gets to be 8 months, she's taken out of the household responsibilities. She's taken out of national responsibilities. So why? So that she can bond with this baby and get and prepare spiritually, mentally, physically, right? So then who does the work? So if you have a family and you have sister wife or sister wives, then they all got the same rhythm.
And that makes sense, because 98% of the women who carry children overseas, they have to work so much. And Shara, you know this, when they have high blood pressure by the time they should conceive, because they have to work up until having baby. And that's really making sense, you understand me? So that's why I say it's very important you bring it out, you understand me? Because I never look at it like that, you understand me?
We wouldn't expect you to.
And the worst, if other children is in line and she pregnant, have to take care of the children, take care of the house, cook, wash, clean, still.
No wonder we're having psychological, emotional, psychological problems. Mm-hmm. No wonder. So, you know. Hey, Minister, come on. Jeremy. That's Jeremy. Jeremy, you awake over there?
Yeah, I'm awake. Good. All right.
So that's how, you know, that's like the simplicity of it, you know.
How you doing, bro? Good.
You gonna go in the office? No. Mm-mm.
Go ahead. Don't let me interrupt. Keep on. Whatever you just doing. Good to see you again, bro.
So, you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, and I said that it makes sense, because you say, like, when a woman reaches 8 months pregnant here, she take out where somebody, the sister wife would come in and assist now. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I agree with that. For much of us as father, you know, by the time your wife have to work so much, by 7 months you start to get high blood pressure. Sure, you know, we'll repeat that again. And so that is a big factor. Mm-hmm. Because my wife was pregnant, she have to get up and get the kids ready for school. I'm out the house for work already. Mm-hmm. So it's something that lead up. So we understand now. In America, I have the highest rate of these kids of this what the sickness they call?
ADD.
No, it's not autism. You understand me? When I leave Jamaica coming, I never know so much sick black people is alive. You understand me? So all that gather down to a situation like that. And as I said, even me can use it as an example, because I work like 4:30 in the morning. So my wife would have to get up, get those kids ready for school. Although she's pregnant, pick them up. Although she's pregnant, and you all know women in the West, they work up until 9 months till that baby come out.
Yeah.
Right, Biowa?
Yeah.
Did you get a break?
In 2
No.
weeks.
So that's your husband's fault.
Alone.
So he should get you help. You understand me? So that's why he's so that's one factor of it where it can work. But in these relationships now, women come from time to time that they're being abused or being neglected, being treated bad. And I'm glad Amadiel come. I'm going to give the man point of view. So I want you to give the female point of view now, how that can be prevented and what you'd expect a man to do to make you happy, make you not abused, with only thinking with the positive. We're not going to be ups and downs, but just give suggestion what can make it work.
Well, for us as a people, we don't isolate it. We help. We help the situation. Again, people, we know each other, and we can sense, even if we're not living in the same house together, or the leadership weighs in or the priesthood weighs in. Okay, so the point of the matter is, abuse is not tolerated here at all. Man, woman, child, elder, that's not our MO. Not to say that there's not, signs of, but there's ways that you have to deal with that. You have to put it, so they have counseling, sister to sister. People could discern sometimes. It's not that we have a cadre of marriage counselors, but if you're in a position that you want somebody to know that I'm in a situation, then you make it known. You need to report it. You need to go seek some help. We encourage that.
Okay.
And then we still are sensitive to keep matters private. So everybody doesn't know everybody's
Business
at the same time, But I don't know if I've ever witnessed in my 35 years here. No, I haven't witnessed it. Like a fight in the house, and
Okay.
we don't. That's people to people ecology. Again, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's what's tantamount in our psyche, and when we're raising the children, even when the children are playing a game together, and then somebody wants to get all huffed up, and and we live at the playground. We've been watching them for years, and we stop, and then they run. And then you go get everybody, bring them back here, and let's
do it over.
And we teach them that this is your brother, even though it's not your biological brothers. We teach them that's your brother.
That's right.
Right now, you might be angry at him or whatever, cool down. But in years to come, you're going to need to be a team. So you have to value this now. And as you know, most of it's not life-threatening situation. He took my ball and it was my turn to shoot. But there's not a gun. That's not the way of resolving anything.
They still shoot marbles.
Yeah, I did it in years. So that even helped build that entire community. And before I ask Sarah Madiel a question, I just want to put it out there because I see the last camp that came, they run back with that more than one wife thing. But we at the House of David, we believe a man can have more than one wife. We in the Mashorah Shala is something that we do believe in. What we're doing here now, we're being educated, and our community do it. Our own people do it for 50 years. Because we know in the West, it ain't fair sometimes. And as I said, I like balance. And as the sis said, the elder sis said, it's on the spiritual side from part 1 of this video. And if you believe in Yah, all things will work. Me and Sarah have personal conversation, but I'm just gonna put him on the spot now. What's the benefit of a man having more than one rib? And a man perspective. I get the sister perspective,
Right.
and a man perspective.
Okay, I'm glad you got the sister's perspective because they're the ones who I think really benefit the most. I mean, really.
And explain why you said that now.
Well,
Come up closer. Come up closer.
all right.
Come on. You have to explain why you said that.
Let me tag on something that she was talking about the support system, because it starts from the beginning. So we're not gonna. Your brother don't want to get a wife that he's not really deeply compatible with, spiritually compatible with. So you already know that you're going to have problems in a relationship. They're going to come. If you pursuing a sister and you find out she likes to go bowling, you're going to take her bowling. But she needs to know that you really don't like to bowl. Because after you get her, you're liable to stop taking her bowling and she's going to be mad. And so she need to know that up front. Or you can commit, hey, well, I guess I can like bowling.
Try to like it.
So it's important to discern that spiritual compatibility up front, so that you know about each other and their shortcomings and what have you, so that's built and it's not based on infatuation and looks and incomes or anything of that nature, curly hair or whatever. You know what I mean? So when you lay that as a foundation, you can move forward. Now the idea of polygyny, we call it polygyny with consent. It's chemistry. A brother doesn't want to add a second, third, fourth wife, and it's not with the chemical composition or the social chemical composition that will make for peace in his household, in his family. That would be a disaster. So one of our rules is that we never want to upset the existing peace and happiness and strength by bringing something new in that will tear it down. That doesn't make sense. And so naturally, brothers, sometimes we get hard-headed and we can get focused on something, and that's where other brothers come in. That's where priesthood comes in. So we have a social structure that the priests counsel. You have to have a minimum of 70 days when you decide that you like a sister, even for the first wife. When you decide that you want to pursue towards marriage, you go into Mikodesh. You're set aside. No one else can pursue you. No one else can pursue her. That's your time. 70
days.
You have to have a minimum of 70 days. And during that 70 days, you have to have a minimum of 10 counseling sessions with the priests. They may talk to you alone. They may talk to her alone. They may talk to the two of you together. They may bring your children. If you've got an existing family, they'll bring your children and your wife or wives in, the existing family. A new sister pursuing a brother, and the brother got a wife or two, she would definitely want to go and talk to those sisters and find out, because they're gonna say, well, he's like this, or he's like, or he doesn't like that, and they're gonna be frank and honest. And if he's got issues and problems in his existing family, her antennas really got to be up. I mean, that's just reality. So that's all mandatory and built into the idea. After that, the priesthood is still on standby. There is a committee of elders who sit, and that's their focus, to preserve these relationships, to build these relationships, because we're going to have problems. We're going to have ups and downs, and when we have them, if you go back to mama, and mama didn't want you in this way of life from the get-go, she's going to say, I told you not to be involved with them niggas in the first place. But here, when you have those problems and you go to one of the elders, sit down, child, let me tell you what I did. Let me tell you what worked out for us. Let me tell you what I had to change. Let me tell you how I was able to get him to, and most times, a sister's not going to get a brother to change. That's just, at least not in the manner that a lot of sisters approach it. It's like, you know, you can't, that's a masculine spirit. Your strength as women is your femininity.
That's right.
And when you ease up on the brother at that particular time, then you can almost get him to do anything in righteousness. Yeah, baby, you're right. What else is he gonna say? What else is he gonna say? That's your strength. And so we've moved beyond this idea of the enmity that was placed between man and a woman. You know, women are not our adversaries anymore. We used to be mindful of Eve. These are our helpmates. They're in this together with us. They're committed to this idea. Within this social structure, we know that we would not want to have a multiplicity of women single with children and we not take care of them.
That's true, because you have all these women single out there with children now, so
got everything but a man.
Exactly.
Got a car, got a house, got a job, got everything but a man. And so so it's time out really for us even having to feel like we have to defend this way of life. Because you have now, you know, the whole idea of monogamy. They don't practice monogamy anymore. They practice serial monogamy. They practice monogamy with prostitutes. They practice monogamy with mistresses.
That's right.
You know, sisters, y'all know when your man ain't hanging out with the boys, you done called the boys. You know you can smell the smell good on the clothes. So we can't lie to these women. These are women that we love. We don't want to lie and say we was doing something because that's undermining our relationship. And then we lying to the other woman too. It won't work. There has to be truth in and Yah at the center of that relationship. And if you're just adding some other personnel in the equation, but we got a job to do. Now, maybe at some point, Isaiah 3, the reality of Isaiah 3, and the disintegration, the destruction of our nation, maybe we'll, in the coming days, maybe that will balance itself out where there are equal numbers of men to women. We'll deal with that when we get there. You know, but for now, we are Isaiah 4:1, which you can't, and when it says, and in that day, you can't understand that day unless you read Isaiah 3, and then you understand the context.
Exactly.
So this is our reality.
And as I quote that scripture, it says, in that day, man always wants to speculate what day it is. You understand me? Like they want to tell in the kingdom. Like, he never said that. You understand me? Okay, if you read Isaiah 3, you see the atrocity will take place under a woman. You understand me? That's even now. A woman going to need an upright man.
Right.
A man that believes in the Most High. A man that his pants is at his waist. Right. You understand me? So I see them coming in now, going forward. But the biggest thing in the West is the jealousy with these sisters.
Well, you know, jealousy is really a male emotion.
Wow.
It really is. You know, I'm a jealous guy.
Yeah,
You know,
jealous.
and brothers, we know when somebody, as Samson said, somebody is clown with your heifer. You know that jealousy that wells up in a man. Not to say that there isn't a jealousy and envy that can arise with women. Of course it does, but there's not anything that you're doing with this particular sister that you're not doing with another one on the basic level of the bedroom. I mean, that becomes the real problem in a lot of our relationships, and that's because we've been raised that the culture that we came out of attached such importance to sex like that. And sex naturally is important. It is, obviously, but it's a very, very small fraction of a relationship. And so once we're able to overcome that and we've committed ourselves to the building of this higher ideal, to making this manifest on the planet, and that's our job and our mission, we sacrifice our personal desires and wants, and we have to subordinate that for the good of the whole. And for us to, again, be responsible for these women and children, to build this idea, to reestablish strong families again, that's our priority. And to spread that idea around the world. I mean, polygyny as a social model is the vast majority of people's traditional cultures on the planet. Monogamy was rare, and certainly polyandry, polyandry, and with this thing they call polyamory, that's something new. But polyandry, more than one husband, that's like, I mean, you could probably count on one or two cultures where that occurred, because sisters, how y'all gonna handle 2 of us? 2 or 3 of us? Could y'all imagine? Ain't one of us enough? So,
like from your perspective and with your experience, how many wives you have?
I have 3 currently. One has we've been released. It's our term for divorce, released from our vows. We grew apart over the years. Okay. And there was one wife who didn't ever even come to Israel. She got turned around twice in the airport. She became a priestess with a Sarasek. Okay. She never wanted to come here. She was of that frame of mind. Okay. And brothers, y'all might be able to relate to this. I really feel like she was, I hope this doesn't end up on Facebook, but I really feel like it was a test for me because she wanted me to stay in America. And I had to make a decision. I got to leave.
Was wife.
It was my first wife and my first son.
So that was wife reincarnated?
we all get tested, and we get tested by things that are dear to us. Right. You know, by things that are dear to us. But I felt that if I didn't do this, as much as I loved her, there was no hope of gaining her if I had made the wrong. I'd lose her anyway for the wrong reason. First seek ye the kingdom and all other things. Right. You know?
So like the 2 questions in one. For brothers who are trying to pursue more than one rib, is it right to have both of them in the same housing? And if both of them in the same housing, how is the sex life apart with your experience?
That's a choice I think the brother and the family have to make. It's chemistry. There's some brothers who prefer to have all their family up under the same roof. I am one of those, with the exception of that I may be pursuing a sister. I am pursuing a sister in South Africa. So obviously there'll be another kind of arrangement there.
When I grow up, can I be like you?
Hurry up. It's a choice the brothers and the family has to make. There's some brothers who have different homes because now in the early days, because we were literally crammed together because of the fact of our socioeconomic status. We didn't have status, we didn't have work permits, etc. So we were very close together, and yeah, these walls are paper thin. And that would be a problem with some relationships. That would be a problem. So but now that we've got our status, now that we're able to live a little bit more comfortably and spread out, some brothers have opted to have a wife here and a wife here and so forth. But it's up to, and some brothers have retained it all. My wives are under the same roof. Saved by the bell.
So
that's it.
So this is what we're talking about, our people living this life in terms of we're living culture. You understand me? Remember, even when Moses took that last wife, Miriam, you and him have something to say about it. The Most High was against it, which it was a different context from this. But our heritage, this is it. This is the road to it. Nobody said this was going to be easy, right? Right?
That's right.
So there's not nothing more to say. So Israel, this is it. Shalom.